Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this evening's headlines. Mamata Banerjee sworn in as Chief Minister of West Bengal for the second consecutive time. Show of strength with Nitish Kumar, Akhilesh Yadav and Arvind Kejriwal in attendance. Buzz of formation of Federal Front. Prime Minister Modi becomes first Prime Minister to attend Northeastern Council in over 30 years, says country can't develop if the region is neglected. Two militants killed and two security personnel injured in encounter in Tangmarg area in Baramulla in Jammu and Kashmir. US President Barack Obama undertakes historic visit to Hiroshima, says should not allow the memory of the attacks to fade, meets survivors, calls for a nuclear weapons-free world. A joint declaration by G7 leaders, global growth adopted as an urgent priority. Leaders call for a forceful and balanced policy mix. Well, let's begin with our top focus on the bulletin this evening. Mamata Banerjee has been sworn in as the Chief Minister of West Bengal for the second consecutive time. The highlight of her swearing-in ceremony in Kolkata was the presence of several regional bigwigs, including Chief Ministers of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Delhi, creating a buzz over the formation of a federal front. Here's more.
I, Kesharinath Tripathi, Governor of West Bengal, hereby appoint Honorable Mamata Banerjee as Chief Minister of the State of West Bengal.
TMC chief sworn in as the Chief Minister of West Bengal for the second consecutive time. Mamata Banerjee, who rode to power again after her spectacular showing in the assembly elections, took the oath of office and secrecy in Bengali at a function on the arterial Red Road in Kolkata.
আমি মমতা ব্যানার্জি ঈশ্বর ও আল্লাহর নামে শপথ করিতেছি যে বিধি ধারা স্থাপিত ভারতের সংবিধানের প্রতি আমি অকপট শ্রদ্ধা ও নিষ্ঠা পোষণ করিব.
Prime Minister Modi took to Twitter to congratulate her. He said he is looking forward to working closely with her government for the state's growth. While the Congress left combine and the state BJP boycotted the ceremony, Union Ministers Arun Jaitley, Ashok Gajapati Raju and Babul Supriyo were in attendance. Jaitley assured that political differences will not be a hindrance in Bengal's development.
It's a great challenge now for any government, including the Trinamool government, to put its economy back to the rails. As far as central government is concerned, we will, in letter and spirit, abide by every ingredient of our federal responsibility and assist the West Bengal government and the people of West Bengal. That in no way will be impacted by the political character of the government here.
The 42-member TMC ministry has 29 cabinet ministers, including the Chief Minister, 5 ministers of state with independent charge and 8 ministers of state.
I, Kesharinath Tripathi, Governor of West Bengal, on the advice of Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of West Bengal, hereby appoint the following persons as cabinet ministers and ministers of state for the state of West Bengal.
Prominent cabinet ministers include Amit Mitra, Subrata Mukherjee, Partha Chatterjee, Shobhandev Chattopadhyay, Farhid Hakim and Soban Chatterjee, who is also the mayor of Kolkata. Women ministers include Shashi Panja, Asima Patra and Sandhyarani Tudu. The new ministry has 18 new faces. The event was also a rallying point for regional powers. Those in attendance at the ceremony included Chief Ministers Nitish Kumar, Akhilesh Yadav, Arvind Kejriwal. Lalu Yadav and Farooq Abdullah were also present. The buzz was the possibility of the formation of a federal front.
ममता बनर्जी जी को बधाई देने आया हूं और पश्चिम बंगाल की जनता को भी, जो उन्होंने पिछले 5 वर्ष बंगाल की सेवा की, लोगों ने पुनः उनको जनादेश दिया है। पश्चिम बंगाल की जनता भी बधाई की पात्र है और ममता जी भी।
I think we'll support, we'll sit together, work out And whatever is best for this nation, we will think about that.
So federal front is a possibility, sir?
There is every possibility of any front that might come which will save India from the future disaster.
Mamata's landslide win has positioned her as a possible major player on the national level. She single-handedly steered the TMC to a spectacular victory, winning 211 of the 294 seats in the assembly, defeating the Congress left combine and the BJP. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on, now Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his third year in office with a trip to the Northeast. He was in Shillong to address the Northeastern Council. He also released a special cover and a stamp brought out by the Department of Posts to mark the occasion. Modi is the first Prime Minister to attend the NEC meet in over 30 years. He also dedicated a number of development projects in Meghalaya. Here's more.
There's need to focus on issues of livelihood, skill development and entrepreneurship. That's the call Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave at the 65th plenary session of the Northeast Council that began on Friday. Modi said the country cannot develop if its northeastern region is neglected. And that's why he added that his government is doing its best to reduce isolation of the region by improving connectivity through rail, road and waterway.
The government has been focusing on the development of the northeastern region through its proactive Act East policy. The Northeastern Council should also consider focusing on issues in emerging areas of livelihood, entrepreneurship, venture funds, startups and skill development. All this will help in generating jobs.
Minister for Development of the Northeast region, Jitendra Singh, also said that in the last 2 years, the Northeastern region has witnessed path-breaking development in all spheres of life. However, a lot remains to be done.
There are 2 or 3 elements which we try to introduce, sir. We sought to go beyond the mandate of development and we owned the region. Whether there was a calamity or a flood or an earthquake or a violent incident, we stood by them so that the donor ministry could identify with them. Secondly, sir, we also try to be a little more innovative and visionary. For example, for the first time in the history of independent India, a region-based road corporation was established.
The council meeting was attended by governors and chief ministers of all northeastern states. Apart from deliberations on ways to develop the region, various agenda items and action-taken reports were also discussed during the session. The presence of Narendra Modi made it more significant as it was the first by a Prime Minister in nearly 3 decades. Later, the Prime Minister also addressed a gathering of self-help groups in Meghalaya and dedicated a number of development projects in the northeastern region. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, at a press conference today, BJP President Amit Shah presented a report of 2 years of the Modi government. Shah talked at length about the government's initiatives to create employment and boost the economy in the last 2 years. Amit Shah also expressed confidence that the ruling NDA government will take the country to new heights by providing corruption-free and development-focused governance. Shah claimed that the Modi government has given decisive governance in the last 2 years.
10 साल के अंदर जो घपले घोटालों का भ्रष्टाचार का बोलबाला था, उसकी जगह हम कह सकते हैं कि भ्रष्टाचार विहीन सरकार देने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने किया है। 2 साल के अंदर हमारे विरोधी भी हम पर भ्रष्टाचार का कोई आरोप नहीं लगा सके।
सारे पैसे या तो घोटाले में गए और या बैंकों के कर्जे में गए। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने 2 सालों में इन सारी चीजों पर काबू पाते हुए अपनी आर्थिक गति को तेज की। जहाँ दुनिया में आज सब जगह मंदी है, दुनिया में आज जहाँ सब जगह विकास नहीं है, वहाँ भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार में, नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार में भारत बहुत तेजी से आगे।
मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हिंदुस्तान के इतिहास में जितने प्रधानमंत्री रहे हैं, इतना निराशाजनक कोई और प्रधानमंत्री रहा है। और जहाँ तक किसानों की बात है, वो तो हंसने की बात है। इतनी असंवेदनशील सरकार तो शायद दिखी नहीं है
कि प्रधानमंत्री की पॉपुलैरिटी में कमी आई है 2 साल के बाद वो जिस तरह से जश्न मना रहे हैं, एक तरफ तो पूरा देश पानी से तरस रहा है, 33 करोड़ लोगों को पीने का पानी नहीं है, और प्रधानमंत्री और उनकी जमात और उनकी सरकार जश्न मना रही है परसों। ये इंतहाई अफसोस की बात है।
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has finally broken his silence after repeated attacks on the Reserve Bank of India Governor Raghuram Rajan, led by BJP leader Subramanian Swamy. In an interview to the Wall Street Journal on the occasion of completing 2 years in office, Prime Minister Modi has said that the issue of reappointment of RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan was an administrative subject and it should not be an issue of interest of the media. BJP leader Subramanian Swamy has levelled many allegations against Rajan, including sending confidential and sensitive financial information around the world, and asked the Prime Minister to sack him immediately. Swamy also alleged Rajan of working for the United States. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has already said RBI and the government are in continuous dialogue and that relationship will continue. Rajan has expressed his views on a host of issues, including intolerance, and has been described India as a one-eyed king in the land of the blind in reference to the country's high economic growth. Moving on to some other news now, the death toll in the massive explosion at an industrial unit in Dombivli district has risen to 6 after the recovery of a body near the factory today. 159 injured are undergoing treatment in the hospital. The police have registered a case against the company management after the massive fire. The explosion occurred yesterday, triggering a blaze in the chemical manufacturing unit. Removal of debris is still on. The intensity of the blast was such that windows as far as 1 kilometer away were shattered. Meanwhile, CCTV footage of the incident is out. People who were working in adjoining shops are seen escaping after the blast shattered their shops' windows. Chemical industries in Dombivli are likely to be shut down for a week to carry out an inspection and combing operation to ascertain implementation of various safety and security measures. Well, 2 militants have been killed by security forces in the Tangmarg area of Baramulla in Jammu and Kashmir. A clash between the armed forces and the militants took place early this morning, leaving 2 militants dead and 2 army personnel injured. The army cordoned off the entire area and blew up the house in which the militants were hiding. The encounter broke out after security forces were tipped off about the presence of 2 militants in the area. The fight followed a search operation.
Police had an information about the presence of 2 terrorists in this particular house. Thereafter, an operation was launched. We offered the militants surrender, but instead they fired upon the searching parties, which triggered an encounter.
Meanwhile, a political showdown over the Handwara killings continued in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly today. For the second day running, opposition parties raised the issue of the Handwara unrest, where 5 civilians were killed by security forces. Independent legislator Engineer Rashid had staged a protest yesterday in the Assembly over the delay in magisterial probe in the Handwara killings, accusing the PDP-BJP government of retracting from its promise of completing the probe within a month. Handwara witnessed a massive clash between police and locals on April 12th after news of a teenager being molested by an army man spread. 5 people were killed in the ensuing protests. The girl denied the allegation of molestation in a controversial video shot inside the police station. She later retracted, saying that she gave the statement under distress. Let's now get you a roundup of the other national news in our segment Nationwide. The net profit of public sector bank SBI has dropped 66% to 1,263.81 crore rupees for the 4th quarter due to higher provisions against rising bad loans. This is the bank's sharpest fall in net profit since March 2011, when it fell 99%. India's largest lender had reported a profit of 3,742 crore rupees a year ago. The Supreme Court has refused an urgent hearing on a plea against the NEET ordinance. The apex court was hearing a plea seeking interim stay on the ordinance, allowing states to continue with their separate entrance test for medical courses. The apex court said there is no need to create further confusion on the matter, and there is a need for some certainty for students. Well, the Delhi High Court has put on hold its decision on the disciplinary action taken by JNU against students Umar Khalid and Anirban Bhattacharya till their appeals against the decision are decided by the university's appellate authority. Earlier, JNU President Kanhaiya Kumar was also provided similar relief. A local court in Gaya has rejected the bail petition of Janata Dal United leader Manorama Devi in the liquor bottle recovery case. Devi was booked under the Excise Act after liquor bottles were recovered during a raid at her residence. The raid was in search of her absconding son Rocky, who is the prime accused in the Aditya Sachdeva murder case. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the US has asked Pakistan to cooperate with India in the 2611 investigations and also check all terror groups operating on its soil. US State Department Deputy Spokesperson Mark Toner said the Mumbai attacks were a terrible tragedy. We continue to urge the Pakistani government to cooperate with the Indian authorities to fully investigate these attacks. The US wants to see justice done and we continue to urge Pakistani cooperation. The 2611 probe remains a sticky issue between India and Pakistan. Even after providing sufficient evidence to Pakistan, perpetrators of the 2008 attacks still remain at large. The last 3 hearings in the case in Pakistan court have been adjourned. Pakistani officials have warned that the trial could face further delay if India does not send 24 Indian witnesses to Pakistan to record their statements. Moving on to our top international focus. Now, US President Barack Obama today paid tribute to victims of the world's first nuclear attack during a historic visit to Hiroshima. Obama also spoke to a number of survivors. In his address, Obama called on nations to pursue a world without nuclear weapons. He is the first serving US president to visit Hiroshima since the World War II nuclear attack.
US President Barack Obama today paid moving tributes to victims of the world's first nuclear attack during his historic visit to Hiroshima, becoming the first serving US president to visit the site since the Second World War nuclear attack. Obama said the memory of Hiroshima must never fade. However, he did not apologize for the US nuclear attack, the world's first nuclear bombing.
Mere words cannot give voice to such suffering. But we have a shared responsibility to look directly into the eye of history and ask what we must do differently to curb such suffering again.
Obama first visited the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum before walking to the Peace Memorial Park. He was accompanied by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Both men stood in front of the eternal flame. Obama looked somber as he offered the wreath, lowering his head and pausing for a moment with his eyes closed before withdrawing.
We come to ponder a terrible force unleashed in a not-so-distant past. We come to mourn the dead.
の人々のみならず、すべての日本国民が待ち望んだこの歴史的な訪問を心から歓迎したいと思います。
Obama spoke to a number of survivors and shared an emotional embrace with Shigeaki Mori, a 79-year-old Hiroshima survivor. He also called on nations to pursue a world without nuclear weapons.
Nations like my own that hold nuclear stockpiles, we must have the courage to escape the logic of fear and pursue a world without them.
Obama's visit comes more than 7 decades after the world was first shown the potential keys to its own destruction. More than 1 lakh people died in Hiroshima and another 74,000 were killed 2 days later in a second bombing in Nagasaki. Some of them died immediately, while many succumbed to injuries or radiation-related illnesses in the weeks, months and years later on. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Well, now on to the G7 summit in Japan, where leaders held talks on climate change and energy. In a statement ending the G7 summit in central Japan, the leaders also committed to giving priority to global growth.
Leaders of the G7 met for the second day today on talks over climate change and energy. Prior to the meeting, activists also called for host country Japan to stop investing in fossil fuels industries. The leaders also discussed terrorism, refugees, trade, cyber and maritime security.
One of the issues that certainly came up was in discussing security and terrorism, our renewed resolve to ensure that we do not pay ransom to terrorists taking hostages.
Donc il y a un plan mondial à mener, à organiser, pour que la question des réfugiés soit traitée au bon niveau et avant qu'il ne soit trop tard.
The group of 7 industrial powers pledged to seek strong global growth while discussing differences on currencies, stimulus policies and expressing concern over North Korea, Russia and disputes involving China.
最も懸念されることは世界経済の収縮であります。
On Russia, the G7 has agreed on the vital importance of sanctions rollover in June.
The group of 7 agreed that the potential risk faced by the world economy should be objectively perceived and jointly solved. In a joint declaration adopted at the summit, the leaders reiterated that global growth was an urgent priority. They also underlined the need to commit to employ a more forceful and balanced policy mix for achieving balanced growth. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's now shift focus and bring you up to speed with some sports news in our segment Sports Beat. The Indo-Swiss tennis pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis will take on Japanese duo Nao Ibino and Eri Hazumi in the second round of the women's doubles in the French Open today. In the men's doubles, Leander Paes and his Polish counterpart Marcin Matkowski will face Australian Julian Noel and German Florian Mayer in the second round. Boxer Sonia Lather has advanced to the finals of the Women's World Boxing Championship at Astana in Kazakhstan. She defeated Kazakhstan's Aizan Kobacheva in 3-0 in the 57-kilogram category to set up a clash with Italy's Alessia Messiano. Sonia is the lone Indian left in the tournament and is now just one win away from ending India's 6-year-old gold medal drought at the World Championships. Indian squash player Joshna Chinnappa will take on second seed Annie Au in the semi-finals of the PSA HKFC International Tournament in Hong Kong today. She defeated Australia's Rachel Margaret Grinham 15-13, 11-6, 6-11, 9-11, 11-4 in the quarterfinals. However, Deepika Pallikal lost to New Zealand's Joelle King 8-11, 6-11, 8-11 in straight games in the quarterfinals. Indian golfer Anirban Lahiri shot a fantastic 5-under-65 in the opening round to grab a share of the second spot in the Dean and DeLuca Invitational at the Condolnial. Lahiri is sharing the second spot with Patrick Reed and Webb Simpson and is just one stroke behind leader Bryce Molder. Former Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho has been officially confirmed as Manchester United manager. He has signed a 3-year contract with an option to stay at the club until at least 2020. Mourinho replaces Dutchman Louis van Gaal, who was dismissed on Monday, just 2 days after the club's FA Cup win. That's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Have a good evening.